Hello everybody. In Mr. Sherar's class, we just started doing two-digit multiplication, and there's been a few difficulties, so we're going to have to spend a bit more time on that, and that's all right. I just wanted to create this video for the case that a student may bring home some homework, and I'm just worried you may be a little broadsided because the way we're doing two-digit multiplication is just slightly different. We're expanding the process just a little bit so that it's not too much too fast. And so I'll go through an example of the traditional sort of vertical multiplication when 21 times 13. Then I'll do it again in the box method. And I'm going to color code sort of the steps that I'm doing so that you can see the parallels between the two steps. So in traditional multiplication, we start off with 3 times 1, which is, of course, 3. Then we move on to 3 times 2, which is, I say I'm going to color code it, and then I don't do it properly. But it's 6. Just let me erase this here. Okay. So 2 times 3, we said, is 6. To follow that off, we say 1 times 1 is 1. Then 1 times 2 is 2. Then, of course, we add it all up to get 273. So that's all well and good. But it can be a bit confusing, a bit daunting about like which one we do first, which one we do next, and all that stuff. So we've separated it out into a box. And we've shown that 21 is just 20 plus 1, then 13 is 10 plus 3. So we separate the tens from the units, and then we do 4 multiplications to complete the box. So we can start off with 20 times 10, which is 200. Then we can move on to 10 times 1, which is 10. We can then do 20 times 3, which is 60. And then 1 times 3, which is 3. Then, to complete this method, what you do is you add them all together. And lo and behold, you get the same answer, 273. Now, I've color-coded this in an effort for you to see that it's the same steps. On the right, in the box method, you do 4 multiplications. On the left, however, we also did 4 multiplications. It gives us a bit more clarity in seeing that, okay, 3 times 1 is 3. But the second step, we're doing 3 times 2 is not 3 times 2 at all, and it doesn't equal 6. We're doing 3 times 20, which equals 60. And then so on and so forth. When we do 1 times 1, I mean, why do we leave this blank space there? It's sometimes it's not addressed. Sometimes you have teachers say, okay, you put a 0 there because you've moved on 1 digit. But a bit more of a complete answer, I would say, is it's 10 times 1, which is 10. And then you do 10 times 20, which is 200. So we've separated it out, whereas normally you do sort of 2 multiplications in one step. Here we're doing 1 multiplication per step. And the addition might seem a bit more arduous, but I'd rather have a little tougher addition rather than throwing too much multiplication at them too fast. Now, this is a relatively simple example. So let me see if I can do another one here, which will hopefully clarify what I'm talking about in the ease. So in the traditional way, we complete this multiplication like so. Want to make sure I'm doing this right here. So you get 87 times 23 is 2001. Now if we do the box method, we separate the tens from the units. We want to do that a bit clearer here. 23. So 80 times 60 is 1600. 20 times 7 is 140. 240. And then finally 21. So 1600 plus 240 plus 140 plus 40. Oh, pardon me, 21. Plus 21. You get 2001. You get the same answer. Now, the box method is a bit more preferable because, I mean, I didn't do it. Having some advanced degrees, I can do this a bit more rapidly. But normally we teach students 3 times 7 is 21. So you put the 1 here, then the 2. Then you say 3 times 8 is 24, and then you add the 2 to get 26. And then similarly at the bottom, 2 times 7 is 14. So then you have a 1, and then 2 times 8 is 16, plus the 1 is 17. So with the old school vertical method, it can be a bit confusing. They know they do, okay, 3 times 7 is 21. So they'll do 1 with a 2 above it. But it can cause confusion. They don't know what to do. Whereas if you look at this box method on the right, you don't have to worry about the carrying and what to do with it until you're doing all the additions at the end. Like here, you do multiplication, and then multiplication and addition. And then you go back to multiplication, and then like you could have to do more additions. Whereas here, the box method, you do 4 multiplications, then you do 1 big addition. And it helps out those students who are struggling just a little bit, and they're not sure how to carry or when to carry or what's going on. And you build this base understanding with the box method, and then they could transition into the vertical method, but this is still a very accepted way to do multiplication. In fact, it's almost a preferred method because when we get into algebra and binomial expansion, or binomial multiplication, I should say, it makes things a whole lot easier down the road. So most of the students, I've given them the choice. They can do the box method or the vertical method. The choice is up to them, whichever they're most comfortable with, because both give the same answer. Most students seem to prefer the box method. And so should a student come home and say, help, I'm not sure where I messed up in this multiplication, now you can understand the process a bit rather than trying to have them explain this process. If you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them all. My email address is m.sherar@rcsd.ca, and I'd be happy to explain any questions that you may have. Have a good day, and thanks for watching.